Now, longtime listeners will know for many, many months, Brian has been just picking whatever the fuck comes to the top of his head at the 0 hour. And we said, Brian, there's one movie that you have been insistent is good and you need to prove it to us. And why don't you just fucking pick it? And now we have Pumpkinhead 2, The Blood Wings, to discuss on Horror Movie Night. So, Brian, let's start with you. Did this live up to childhood memories?
No, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. The problem growing up, so I used to think that this movie was really scary. This movie really scared me as a kid, and watching it as an adult, I kind of realized that I was too young to process genuine pain and grief. So like so the beginning isn't scary. It's just so fucked up and sad. But as a kid, you're terrified because that's what scared the shit out of me. The beginning of this movie, ever since I was a kid, fucked me up, kept me up from sleeping. And, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it was because these bullies murder some deformed kid.
And you're like, I'm a deformed kid.
Yeah, that could happen to me.
I will say, so the big takeaway that I had with I really enjoy watching Pumpkinhead kill people.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about any of the town politics that make up for like 70% of this
Oh,
movie.
come on. They tell not show, which I love. Like as soon as the first death happens, it's just most movies, it's like this has to be a bear or something, but there's just the off the rip, there's one guy that's like, oh yeah, that's Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead? You never heard of him?
Yeah. I'm not a hunter anymore, Sheriff. I'm the hunted.
Oh man, that guy.
But I don't know. The teenagers specifically are just so. They're supposed to be 90s teens, but they're talking like a gang the whole time from the 50s.
Yeah.
It's like, listen here, I'm the boss of you, tumbleweed. And he's slapping him around.
Yeah, good old and everyone ties together. It's not a good movie,
No.
but it's fun. There's weird things that I love in good movies that are in this movie.
Yeah.
Like you know me, any song when death or when something serious has happened and the song doesn't fit, I love it. So when Pumpkinhead is killing a guy to an upbeat country song, um, I have a thing. That's why I love Quentin Tarantino movies. You know what I
That's
mean?
fair. Well,
Um,
Scott, how were you feeling when this movie kicked off in the 50s? Because I know that that's one of your fetishes.
I had a boner, yeah.
Of course.
Of course, you can tell it's 1958 because it's in black and white. They didn't
Yeah.
invent the color in the world until 1962. So obviously, this is a 50s scene.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the gang in that, they're just kind of when you're a jet, you're a jet. They're chasing Pumpkinhead. So
here's the thing. Not to cut you stay. You say your part.
No, I had nothing else. I was reaching
Okay.
at that point.
Because I get in horror movies, it makes sense where it's we were in high school and we bullied someone, or we were drunk driving, we accidentally killed someone, whatever the case may be. They accidentally hurt someone, but they grew up and moved past it in their normal lives. If you're in high school and you're okay with taking someone's life in such a vicious way, I find it hard to believe that you're going to grow up to be a judge. You're only a serial killer at that point.
No, you're missing the point. The point is that they got to all these positions of power because they're ruthless, and the joke was "Oh, I'm a judge because I'm crooked," and yeah, it's a thing.
I went right over old Brian's head. That's
And you can't get most things past Brian. We'll talk about next week.
Who said that?
I will say that one of the things that I picked up on this time around is that Pumpkinhead movies in general, just the first half is always just so depressing. Even if it's not well made, it's still really upsetting. Watching the old witch just burning in the house, screaming for help. I was just like, God, can we just get to the giant pumpkin head killing people, please?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's 4 of them.
There are 4 Pumpkinhead movies?
Yeah, I saw it on, as thing people also watched.
Well, I think you guys are being a little. Even Brian is being a little harder on this than I was expecting because, like, it has 2 things going for it: an incredibly stacked cast, and let me
Mhm.
read it off for you. Well, not for you, but for the listeners. The dad from Hellraiser, Linnea Quigley, Punky Brewster, Kane Hodder, R.A. Milhaloff, and Joe Unger. Both are from Leatherface. And Joe Unger was in Nightmare on Elm Street. And the main asshole teenager is the main character in Return of the Living Dead 3.
If the first Pumpkinhead didn't exist, this is such a better movie.
Well, I think
But
this did what.
because the first
Well, no.
Pumpkinhead exists, it's like, man, this is good. But like, even the puppet head monster looks a little bit cheaper than it did in the first movie.
No, no, I do not agree with you on that. So first things first, this movie, as far as what we do on this show, I think that this is exactly what we expect from a sequel to a beloved original. Like
This is
Pumpkinhead
true.
is
Yeah.
great, and then Pumpkinhead
Mhm.
2 is like, how can we make the story worse but show the monster more?
Yeah, and maybe that's where I think the problem is like the first Pumpkinhead does such a good job of like really choosing when it shows
Yeah,
Pumpkinhead
but that's the whole point of Pumpkinhead 2 is that you see it all the time. It's
all the time, but
yeah.
it's like, but he's just like, "Ah!" Like,
I
his
know.
hands are flailing.
I
Like,
loved it. I mean,
I
I didn't love the movie, but I loved the scene. Here's what I think we should all agree on, and this should be our endorsement stamp for this film. Every scene where Pumpkinhead is in which Pumpkinhead is on screen, is a good time. Like
yeah.
yeah,
that's all that matters. You have to deal with about 80 minutes of non-Pumpkinhead bullshit, but like
it's true.
I wasn't I don't know, it wasn't a tough watch for me.
I was not in pain during either film that we're recording an episode of today.
Yeah,
I had a
no,
blast.
it was a fun time. You know, I would have liked to see a little bit more of Pumpkinhead. You know, because people don't understand when you're regardless if it's revenge or not, when you're killing people, it takes a toll on you. And I just would like to see Pumpkinhead at night when he just goes home to Miss Pumpkinhead, you know, and just kind of sits on his recliner and she's like, "Rah, rah, rah,
So one of my favorite lines, and there's a scene where she's rubbing just the hairiest beer belly
Oh, poor
imaginable
Linnea. Oh God.
and goes, some things get better with age.
There's hope for you yet, Matt.
Really? I can keep on. Why am I going to the gym? I'm reversing what gets better with age.
I mean,
oh,
you have to ask yourself: are you looking for the hottest piece of trailer trash ass in town, or
Or,
not?
when Linnea is the one who doesn't get scared to death, but she gets scared to mind shutting down,
Yes.
correct?
the closest you can get to scared to death.
And I love
Um,
Linnea. I do, but everybody is everybody's scenes that are not the dad from Hellraiser just are head scratchingly stupid. Like, why did they in 93 when this movie?
yeah.
Why in 93 were they like, we got to get Linnea in this?
And I feel like that scene was her toughest scene. And I just keep picturing the director giving her directions on her being scared to death, being exactly like Paul Rudd teaching Jason Segel how to surf in Terror Marshall. Do nothing. Nothing. Okay, well you have to do more than that. You're doing
No one has ever said
Do
that
something, but
Linnea is not a. I'm sorry, Linnea, you're not a serious actress. Like, it's just so like if she's not playing trash or a ditzy horny girl, you're gonna have problems.
well, I love the scenario where they're like, guys, good news, we casted Linnea Quigley. And they're like, yay! And they're like, this is how much she wants per day. And they're like, then film one nude scene and have her scared beyond the ability to act in the rest of the movie.
They just replaced her with a cucumber midway through the movie.
But then the other line that I love in this movie is at the doctor's office, all the thugs for the mayor come walking in or whatever, and they're basically saying like, "Hey, we live in a nowhere town, but all these tourists are talking about how there's a Pumpkinhead running around, and we need to like really make this work for our town, like a reverse Jaws type situation." Where the one guy just goes, "I got the people from the National Enquirer blowing up my phone," and I'm like, man, I would love for the people at the National Enquirer to be calling my phone for anything because I could maybe talk to them about where Bat Boy's been all this time.
Matt wrote that joke and was so happy. He was
Yeah, but Bat Boy is Weekly World News.
oh shit.
Oh shit, you're right.
God damn it,
You're
Matt.
right. Poked holes in my only joke. Well, I'm just gonna sit here quietly until we're done.
That's why I didn't get it.
Well, the good thing is that Matt's the editor, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
I don't remember anything about this, but I have the words "love that decapitation" written down.
Oh, yeah.
Last note I have.
I was waiting for who gets that their head
Is that
ripped
the
off?
douchey boyfriend?
That's the boyfriend who's just not even a douche. He's just a bad human being.
Yeah.
I don't understand a lot of the things that the people do in this film, but also I have some serious misgivings with the writer of this, thinking that like a teenage girl I like the bad boy, but he's like really shitty. They're skipping school to drink brand beer at the mine or whatever. Also, this was my first watch of Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings. I read this synopsis years ago, and I was like, oh, it's going to be by a mine, like a mine shaft. No, it's literally like a big metal drum that they're standing over. This is the cheapest fucking mine, quote unquote, that they could have ever built.
Which, like, side note, if you're worried about your son falling through it, I don't know, maybe put more than one piece of wood across this giant drum.
Yeah.
And seal it up. Like, problem solved.
Don't come to us with your shitty solutions.
I will say the flashback with the fire truck was,
oh my god,
unexpectedly heartwarming.
We can talk about it again at episode 250 because this is probably gonna be my double feature for episode 250. Punky Brewster, Soleil Moon Frye, is a bad girl in this, and she has some sort of like witch knowledge because in 1993 every wannabe goth girl knew about Wicca, I guess. Looking at her, I do not see Punky Brewster or adult Soleil Moon Frye. She's just like random hot girl number 2. It's very odd because like she doesn't look like herself in this movie, but she actually is arguably the only person that can act outside of the dad from Hellraiser in this. The girls in this,
I didn't realize that was who that was.
every girl on Instagram is just wearing these clothes, like in 2020.
It's
hot girl. But like, but we need to talk about the mayor though.
Yeah.
What about him? He seems like an all right guy.
What is that character? He's so out of place. Like I don't even know. I was waiting for.
Huh?
He's like, I gotta get to my music gig. Like he's a singing mayor or some shit. I don't
listen, man. Here's my thought on that. Actually, I was about to make a joke, but now I think it might be the honest truth. This is a movie that was made at the time when our president was playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall. So maybe it was just like, you know what? People love politicians. They got a little bit of rock and roll inside of them. So they're like, give the mayor like a weird music backstory. And they're like, all right, sure. Why not? That's an easy line of dialogue.
But he's only in 2 scenes. That guy was on set for less time than Linnea and her boobs. Like he was just, it's a mind-boggling character for me because it, 1, doesn't serve a purpose. 2, does not move the story along. 3, there's no joke. It's just odd.
Let's look him up on Google, and 20% of his pictures, he's not wearing a cowboy hat.
I have a joke that if I could remember the context of it, I know what happened and why I wrote it, but there's a part where I think Danny, the bad boy, smacks his girlfriend, Jenny. That's the sheriff's daughter. And I, somebody's like, "Why did you hit her?" Somebody's like, "I didn't hit her." And I just wrote down, "I did not hit her. I did not." Punky Brewster's boyfriend is getting chased through the fucking woods, and he's wearing these untied Doc Martens,
Mm.
and they're flopping around. Dumbest fashion idea ever. There's a 0% chance that those fuckers are staying on as you're getting chased by an 8 foot tall demon.
I used to wear really loose shoes growing up. I never tied my shoes.
Yeah.
Because it's unsafe. How are you gonna run away from a serial killer
You can't.
or Pumpkinhead? You can't. You're
Yeah.
fucked.
Oh no, it's
To be
Pumpkinhead.
fair, I'll use the reverse of that. I think that it's a great plan because you can quickly kick off that shoe and use it as a weapon while you're running. Boom.
Matt is the softest bro ever, right? Like everything about Matt, inside and out, is just soft. Have you ever tried running with no fucking shoes?
Oh, dude, Brian can attest to this. There are summers where I walk around barefoot for like 90% of that
Yeah,
summer.
walk.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to run anywhere with no feet, with no shoes
With
on?
no feet, it
hurts.
would be impossible. But if you
Yeah.
had socks on, that's a protective shield.
It's not a protective shield. And Matt, Pumpkinhead would be 10 feet away from you. You would pop that shoe off and throw it a foot, and and it would just kind of flop on the ground haphazardly, and then you and Pumpkinhead would have an awkward standoff.
Can you imagine Matt throwing his fucking like a boot at Pumpkinhead? It smacks Pumpkinhead on the forehead like a legit like joke sound, like a bunk, a ping, and then just Pumpkinhead looks at him incredulously, like, "Are you fucking serious, bro?"
Who throws a shoe? Come on.
Exactly.
You're thinking of that scenario. My scenario is I clock him in the head and he just falls down and problem solved. I saved the day. Me and my magical shoe. Hey guys, we'll be back to talking about our double features for Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings in just a second. But first, I want to talk about this week's sponsor, Best Fiends. Now, last time that I talked about Best Fiends, I described it as a Zen like experience. But at that time, I was about 60 levels in. Now, let me pull this open. Let me tell you how far I've gotten in this game now. At level 173. So in 2 weeks, I have played a lot of Best Fiends, and that Zen-like state that I spoke of has now turned into a competitive rage. I am focusing all of my energy on beating these slugs that are constantly getting in the way of all of my cute little insect friends. I need to take these slugs down a notch. You should help take these slugs down a notch because I think we can all agree that slugs have had their time to shine, and now it's time for all these other insects to be top dog. All right? So, what I'm saying, guys, is you are going to want to engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile app game is a must play. So, download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. Do it. You will not regret it. And now, back to the show. We want to talk double features.
Hell yeah.
All right, Brian, you pick this. What's your double feature with this?
Killjoy 3.
I hate you.
So Killjoy 3 is they try to resurrect their dead friend, and then
Gotcha.
Killjoy comes and kills all of them.
Right.
A whole whoopsie daisy. And this movie is also a big old whoopsie daisy.
I have so many ideas. I guess that I need to have like a moment of in external monologue with you guys. So a lot of the time lately I've been like, "Oh, okay, if this movie's bad, how do I save the night?" And if the movie's good, I'm like, "Okay, what's something that reminds me of what we're watching?" This movie is so middle of the road that it's like I could either do a joke pick as like a haha, this is a movie that reminds me of a scene in the movie, or I could be like, here's a movie that I really liked, so that I could have a movie that I don't know how I feel about, Pumpkinhead 2, and a movie that I know what I feel like.
I always follow my heart with the movie that.
Matt, you follow your heart for everything.
I know, and it's never guided me in the wrong direction. Mine is always just like I'll be because I know that when I've had people over watching movies, so frequently the next movie we watch is based on like a random scene in the movie that goes, huh, that makes me think of this. We should watch that next. So like that's been my logic for almost every double feature.
Well, then I'm gonna go with Powder.
Okay.
Oh, Powder, dude. What a movie.
It's not good. Powder is not a
No,
good movie.
made by an infamous pedophile.
Yeah.
Is it? So
Yeah,
I
it's
watched
the
it on
Jeepers Creepers guy made that. It was his
Fox.
first movie after being arrested.
Gotcha. Yeah, I watched that on Fox with mom. Still afraid of lightning.
Yeah,
What aren't you afraid of? This we're
Thunder.
Kiki and Buddy.
not Jade. Just Kiki and Buddy.
I wouldn't. I
He's
wouldn't go so far. You know what I mean? I don't trust those two. I put my life on the line, and it's worth it. But it doesn't mean I'm comfortable around them.
I will do my double feature with I Know What You Did Last Summer because it has a similar setup to Pumpkinhead too. Driving
Oh.
around, hit somebody, try to like cover their tracks that they hit somebody, and then bad things happen. So I
Hmm.
mean, basically, it's the exact same movie.
Yeah, yeah, I could see it being the exact same movie as Pumpkinhead too.
I'm gonna say I would probably. I'm really torn on which one I would pick if I was on a deserted island with a with a computer and only one movie on it. Um, I don't know if I would go with I Know What You Did Last Summer or Pumpkinhead 2 because they're both so mediocre.
Yeah,
But like Pumpkinhead 2 has a monster. But
Pumpkinhead 2 is a monster, but I Know What You Did Last Summer has a better soundtrack.
that's exactly what I was gonna fucking say.
All right, so what is something that you want to promote that you watched or read or whatever?
We got to talk about Sabrina because I said that we would put it off until this week.
All right, well, you
Ooh.
guys have fun with that. Real quick, I'll just say that I saw Ford versus Ferrari, and it was shockingly compelling for a movie about a topic that I couldn't give less of a shit about.
Well, just so you know, I'm happy Scott picked Sabrina because I have something else to bring up. But I do want to dive into
You and
Sabrina
I
with
need to
Scott.
talk about Sabrina.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, talk about your thing first, and then you guys just go off on Sabrina.
Okay, real quick. In 2020, everyone is doing a major disservice to themselves to not watch this show that's on Netflix. And it is called Night on Earth. Technology has come so far, and it is just insanely high tech cameras that are able to film at night that are showing jungles in Africa and like animals and how they survive and what they do. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's every animal is adorable. Every single animal is adorable.
Sold
Um,
me.
yeah, it's tough. You don't know who to root for all the
Yep.
time. I don't want this leopard to starve to death, but I also don't want this guy
Get
to
eaten.
get
Yeah.
killed. You know, but it's a really fascinating show. That's my 2 cents. Now let's talk Sabrina.
I didn't like it.
You didn't.
Nope. It wasn't fun, funny, or cool.
So I enjoyed it. I told my brother there was one thing, and I don't know why it bothered me so much.
This is if you haven't watched Sabrina by this point,
Yeah.
turn off the episode. We'll see you next week. But we're gonna spoil this season if you haven't. If you've watched it now, we'll talk about it.
So they've been doing a lot of things where it's like, they do a lot for like the trans community, and they're doing a lot to show like, progressiveness, and I respect that. But I feel I don't know why it bothered me so much, but like they're in a band together and they are covering Wheatus Teenage Dirtbag.
That was a pretty fun thing, though. I was glad that Weedus is getting that Netflix money.
Me too. Me too. But they cut out the line "He brings a gun to school," which would make sense if they covered the whole song. But like it just like felt like it was forced. It's like so you picked that one line. It felt like it was like it just threw me off. It's like you picked that one line to sing to show that you're going to take it out when you could have sang any other line in the song. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, that is. Well, it's funny because we were watching it, and that part Theo is on drums, and they get to sing, and they
Mhm.
change a bunch of the lyrics. Like
Yeah,
it's a total gobbledygook mess. And Megan turns to me and she's like, "Did Theo fuck up the lyrics?" I said, "No, I'm sure that was on purpose." And it's just very odd. I don't know why
yeah,
they did that.
yeah. It just felt
But
forced.
I actually read up on the actor. Actor is a sexless term. So the
Mhm.
actor who plays Theo and I'm using their correct pronoun, they are actually uh, genderqueer. So they were born biologically female, and then they got top surgery, and I don't know if they're on HRT or whatever, but they are one of the only genderqueer and trans actors out there apparently right now, which is crazy to me that there aren't more openly trans people that are getting work. I don't know. It just seems like I guess it's like a catch-22 because in season 2 I was a little uncomfortable with the concept of a character coming out. I thought it was cool and I loved it, but I just don't want it to be too much of like a virtue signaling thing.
Hmm.
But I think that since they found someone who actually is trans in real life to play the character, that actor was trans when they, I mean, they had already transitioned by the time they got on Sabrina. It's not like they kind of like shoehorned that into the character. They knew that when when Susie was first added to the show, that they knew that that was going to be a plot point. I think that's pretty cool. But I do feel like maybe it would be virtue signaling if just every show had like a trans person playing a trans person. Maybe there are trans people on TV and in movies that we don't, that it's not part of their identity and we don't know. And so that's our closed world view that we, maybe it's not our business, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
back to the actual season, it felt like Riverdale to me, and I was so I was not in entertained.
I think that we were at a point. I think that the show was getting dark enough. Um, that I genuinely feel, as sad as it would have been, I think that when everything was fixed, there should have been there should have been some consequence, and someone, really probably one of the ants, shouldn't have made it out. Like, to have almost everyone die, um, and then a little like time travel thing, and then it's just like, oh, everyone's okay. I just felt like it was a bad dream season, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Eh,
Like,
it's
it was.
if it was a bad dream season, I would give it more credit for being so boring. But it's just it. And it
Mhm.
was insufferable. It wasn't as bad as Riverdale, but I probably won't watch season 4. Maybe I'll give the
Yeah.
first episode of season 4 a go, but the tone of this season, of the entire season, was wrong, and the pacing was wrong. Like, it was just not. Season 2 was so dark and sarcastic and fun. Maybe not
Mhm.
sarcastic, but it was just like really tongue in cheek. There's so much, like the writing was great, and I laughed my balls off every single episode. I maybe got one chuckle this entire season.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of comedy. I didn't like the ending. Hopefully that there is consequences, and that's the whole premise for season 4.
Mm.
But it's like, that was the whole basis of the show, and I think it could have kept its comedy, if she was both. Like, she was like a normal high schooler that, like, every time someone went to hell, or every time something went to hell, she was like forced to go deal with it, almost like a judge. Like.
Yeah, and that episode with the ice cream man, I think that was the only entertaining episode.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the the little girl was super fucking annoying, but that guy that played the killer ice cream man, I think that of the vast majority of people on the show, or I would say of every single guest star of this season,
Mhm.
only one that could act because that guy was great.
Yeah. And I didn't strongly dislike the season, and I actually really liked the first few episodes. In hindsight, like, man, the last 3 episodes were finishing just to finish.
Oh,
Like, it
exactly.
was
Yeah,
like we would put it on, and it was like neither of us were happy about it. Um, we weren't excited, like, oh, 3 episodes left. It's like, all right, let's just, how much more we have left?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, I also feel like after watching The Witcher and how fucking entertaining that show is the next Netflix show that I watched with supernatural elements is Sabrina. And
Mhm.
I mean, I guess my hype was like medium low. It wasn't like I'm like I just expected it to be fun. I don't think that it's going
Yeah.
to be like, the cure for cancer or something like that. But I was expecting more entertainment value than I got. But man, that last episode of The Witcher, I I steamrolled my way to it. I sprinted to the finish line for Sabrina. I was like, well, there's a beer at the end of this walk. Let me
Yeah.
just get there. I think that the number one thing that made season 2 so fun and what they lost in season 3 was Blackwood, because Blackwood is the best character. He and Ambrose
Yeah.
are, which is so funny because like it's supposed to be a female centered show, like
Yeah.
Zelda, Hilda, Sabrina, Prudence, and Lilith are supposed to be the showrunners, and they do nothing this season.
Now, I just want to let everyone know listening, like if you watch Sabrina casually and you thought like the first 2 seasons were okay, you might like I think the biggest quarrel that me and you have, and I don't want to speak for you, is like we adored season 1 and
Yeah.
2. Like it was like just perfect TV for us. So our expectations might be much higher than other people.
I guess it's not my expectation because like I was excited for season 3, but I wasn't like hyped because I was kind of just waiting for the show to start sucking. What was that last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that? You were like, give it time. Netflix
Won't.
they kill every good show. They'll, and it's true. And I think that season 3 just kind of was that season,
Yeah.
All right, well, that was Pumpkinhead 2
Well,
Bloodwing.
Scott didn't say that's all he had for it. I'm not the voice of the show.
No, there's nothing else to say. I said my piece.
That was Pumpkinhead Bloodwings 2. That was Pumpkinhead 2 Bloodwings from 1993 or 92, sometime in the early 90s, as picked by Brian. As you heard us hyping it up, next week is like the best fucking movie we'll ever discuss this year. I'm saying it. We've been talking about it for months leading up to it, so most of you probably already know what it is, so I'm not even giving you a hint, because if you've been paying attention, you know what the fuck we're talking about. Also, all of our social media and our Patreon links and everything are in the details page of the episode. So go, donate, get some bonus materials. You'll love it. You'll love it. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.